My cousin, who was crashing at my place, was acting like a self-righteous saint. When that devastating cold wave hit, she told everyone in the neighborhood that we had food. Neighbors, desperate and starving, came knocking, and she went ahead and handed all our food out. My parents ended up starving to death, and she had secretly stashed a cabinet full of instant noodles, refusing to share even one packet. She even insisted on letting 2 sketchy guys into our home to stay warm. When those guys turned violent, she shoved me out to save herself, flattering them to survive. I was humiliated. Nothing more than meat for them to survive the cold. My cousin, after all this, inherited our house and money. Her angelic act got her noticed by a rich heir, and she married into wealth, living this life again. If she wants to play saint, I'll let her have her fill of it. This year's colder than usual. Let's stock up well for New Year's and avoid going out if we can. Watching my parents gear up to go shopping, it felt like a dream. I realized I'd been reborn a week before that freezing cold wave hit, on the day they went out to stock up. Meanwhile, my cousin Lily was sprawled on the couch, gaming away, barely glancing up to say food's best fresh. It's not like it's unavailable. Yeah, she said that. But when the cold came, she was the first to pig out. She not only fed herself but gave our food away to others, acting like a hero and earning the nickname Flower of the End. She watched my parents starve, saying older folks should make way for the younger ones. Later, she sheltered those 2 evil men. To please them, she pushed me out, saying food should be fresh. With no end in sight to the cold wave, I was their source meat. They didn't kill me outright, but sliced fresh meat from me to make stew, piece by painful piece. I begged Lily for mercy, but she coldly replied, "Your body was a gift from your parents. You can't just give up on it. How could you let your aunt and uncle down? I'm saving you, survive the cold and you'll live." The ones who let the bad guys in and shoved me to them were none other than her. Yet she dared to play the righteous role, mock me, and watch me in agony. I want to kill her right now, but she's not worth losing everything for. Not to mention it would ruin my parents. So, I'll wait for the chaos of the cold wave to take care of her. During that time, no one will question how someone died. Coming out of that nightmare, I held back tears and went to my parents. This time, I wouldn't let Lily be the death of them. Then let cousin buy her fresh food daily. We'll stock up for ourselves, I said, putting on my coat and hat, heading out with my parents. Lily's voice trailed behind. If only my parents were alive, I wouldn't have to play nice with anyone. My parents, bless their kind hearts, said, "Your aunt and uncle passed early. Cut Lily some slack. She's staying with us. We can't let her feel like she doesn't belong under our roof." Lily always used this line to manipulate my parents. Whenever she said something like this, they would give in to whatever she wanted. But she's not worth it. At least a dog knows its best interests. She's nothing but an ungrateful freeloader. I kept my mouth shut. My parents didn't see Lily for who she really was. Arguing wouldn't help. The important thing now was getting us ready for the 3-month cold wave. When it first hit, people didn't think much of it. They thought it was the end and lost their humanity. But it really only lasted 3 months. Just need to hang on for those months. Those who did awful things could start over afterward. But why should evildoers enjoy life over others' struggles? This time, I'm making them pay for every wrong. For Lily's sake, my parents bought her loads of her favorite snacks. I didn't care. I focused on buying meat and vegetables, arranging for a midnight delivery. Deliveries in such cold weather weren't ideal, but money talks. We lived on the first floor, and with some extra cash, I got a garden and basement. While everyone slept, I had the delivered goods stowed in the basement. It's usually a storage area filled with Lily's junk. She was always picking up new hobbies like learning piano or guitar, not caring about the expenses. Her aunt was always guilt-tripping about her living at our place, but all those things just gathered dust down there. I finally had someone clear all that junk out. Eventually, she'll be tossed out too. Now the basement is packed with food, heaters, and emergency supplies. By the time I finished setting up, it was nearly 5 a.m. The workers were coming in the afternoon to fortify the house. With the human dark side reaching extremes during the 3-month cold wave, I had to be fully prepared. The fortification work couldn't be hidden. So I told my parents I got a year-end bonus to renovate the windows and doors. Actually, I worked part-time and started a business with friends during my college years. For the last 2 years, we've been doing well. I hadn't mentioned it before to avoid upsetting Lily. Hearing my parents fret about me spending money at home, she got snarky. My parents left enough for me to live comfortably, she sneered. Finding work isn't easy, and how do you get all that cash? Doing something shady. Don't drag down your aunt and uncle. I wouldn't want to live in a house built on dirty money. At that, anger surged through me. I yanked her by the collar and threw her out like a stray dog. You freeload here for free, yet your mouth spills all sorts of crap. Don't like the mess? Then get out. You have a lot of debts your parents left, and you think you can repay them? I slammed the door, and Lily went nuts trying to open it. When she couldn't, she ran outside in her pajamas, acting all pitiful. She's always been that way. If she didn't get her way, she'd run outside and cry, making it seem like we did something awful. People would walk by, pointing fingers, and she'd put on this sad little face. She even told them she had no parents, and that her uncle and aunt took her money and kicked her out. Everyone thought our family was the bad guy. This time, my parents didn't try to comfort her. My mom was furious. What a piece of work. We raised her all these years, and now she's bad-mouthing our Jennifer. Did I ever spend a dime of hers? We cleared tens of thousands of her debt. She's well into her 20s and still sponging off us. David, she's your niece. Indulge her yourself. I'm done. Over the years, my mom tolerated Lily for my dad's sake, but she was fed up. Dad felt the same. Why be the fool if not for family ties? Her parents didn't leave anything except debt. Just a rundown house that couldn't even clear what they owed. If it weren't for my parents stepping in when no other relatives would, who would care for her? And here she was biting the hand that fed her. Eventually, Lily got too cold outside and had to come back in. She tried to act all noble, saying, I'll move out after the new year. I won't burden you guys anymore. And then she bought some instant noodles, claiming she'd make it on her own. Yeah, right. She's said it 100 times before. Does she even believe herself? But she wouldn't last past the big freeze. The night after the renovations finished, it started snowing heavily. At first, everyone just thought this year was colder. It wasn't until a week later, when temperatures dropped to negative double digits, that reality hit. No one could go out, and supplies were limited and expensive. Some places lost power, and people were freaking out about doomsday. My parents had stocked up on New Year supplies, so we had plenty of food. Plus, the basement was loaded with stuff to ride out the cold snap. Some folks in the neighborhood had run out of food and were paying high prices in the community chat. I knew Lily had added their contacts. She planned to sell all our food to the neighbors after negotiating prices, thinking she found a way to show she wasn't useless. When my parents and I were asleep, she'd secretly sell all the food we had. She played the hero while we went hungry. That's how my parents starved. I was too weak to resist, and that's how she controlled me. This time I was quicker. While she was in the bathroom, I took all the food she had stashed in her room. The noodles she bought to act all noble, refusing our food, along with tons of snacks. I posted in the group chat, anyone out of food, come by my door. I'm sharing what extra we got. Who needs to pay a high price when they can get it for free? When Lily got out of the bathroom, the last pack of noodles was gone. She saw the group message, but didn't know it was her stash I gave away. I just cut off her side hustle. She snapped at me, Jennifer, are you out of your mind? Everyone's short on food, and you just handed ours out for free. I feigned shock, we're all neighbors here. Isn't it better to help each other in tough times? You're not suggesting we capitalize on disaster, are you? Aren't you always chummy with them? How come you're being stingy now? Want me to tell them my cousin didn't allow it, so they'd have to return it? Then pay. Back then, she pulled the same holier-than-thou routine. Sold our food and claimed neighbors should help each other. Criticized my parents and me as selfish, embarrassed to be related to us. Now with roles reversed, she couldn't handle it. She shot me a dirty look. I'm not asking them to return it. You go ahead and give it away. Your fault when you're hungry. She always played this part of the gentle and righteous neighbor, not wanting to ruin her image now. Plus, she thought the food came from our main stash. She assumed she still had power over us. until she went back to her room and screamed. The noodles and snacks were gone. She burst out, questioning me. "Jennifer, what's your deal giving away my stuff? Those were mine. How could you take them?" What a joke. She could sell other people's stuff at high prices, but lost it when I gave hers away? I calmly replied, "Yours? Didn't you use our money to buy them? You've been mooching off us for years. Plus, it's just noodles and snacks. Not healthy anyway. Best to eat less." When the house had nothing left but her stash, and my parents asked her to share, she said just that. Sold our food while holding on to noodles, telling us it was bad for health, and we'd better eat less. She locked herself in, ate while we starved. When they left me half a bowl of wilted soup before starving to death, she merely commented, "Survival of the fittest, nature's way." They were old. Life should favor the young. Now I stashed all household food in my room, eager to see if nature could flush out this trash. Lily staged a hunger strike, but as everyone ignored her, she came crawling for food. I had moved everything to my room, even the fridge. She found nothing, not even rotten leaves, and sneaked into my room. She got smacked like a thief. I flipped the light, looking at her bruised face, fake shocked. "Oh, it's you, cousin. Thought it was a burglar. What brings you sneaking around my room at night?" 3. She's still giving us the silent treatment, obviously too embarrassed to admit she's been sneaking food because she's hungry. She threw a nasty comment my way. "Jennifer, just you wait." Watching her retreat clumsily, I smirked, curious what other tricks she had up her sleeve. Her pride? It wouldn't let her ask for help, even if she had to survive on leftovers and expired snacks from the trash. Dad felt bad. "We can't let the kids starve. It might hurt her." But my mom firm. "She needs to learn a lesson. Look at her now. And don't think I didn't notice you leaving food out for her." Dad went quiet. Those leftovers were his doing. I understood. Lily was his niece, and nobody wanted to see her starve. But I figured it's time Dad saw what she's truly like. Pretty soon, our area had power cuts, and within 2 weeks of the cold snap, everything outside was frozen solid. I had a generator ready, so we were good for heat and lights, plus plenty of charcoal too. So yeah, Lily lucked out staying with us. But true to her nature, she never showed a bit of gratitude. This time I was ready. She couldn't sell our food, got nothing from it, and held a grudge. While we were asleep, she told everyone in the group chat our place had power, heat, and food. Even shared photos of our meals. It had been half a month, and food was running out everywhere. People were desperate. She said they could buy their way in. $100K to get in. First come, first served. For a couple $100,000, she offered them shelter to ride out the cold snap together. Some folks, desperate to survive, were ready to throw everything they had at it. Lily wasn't dumb. She just preferred taking advantage of others' hard work. If she pulled this off, she'd turn into a rich lady after the cold snap. People in the group kept praising her as kind-hearted, while calling me selfish for not sharing what I had, saying we grew up together, yet I was the mean one compared to her. Lily tiptoed to let them in, only to find my new security measures in place. Another layer of locks was there to stop her from opening the door. Now frustrated, starving, and cold, some neighbors began to grumble and bang on the door. "What's the deal here? Playing games? We paid. Let us in. Either you open the door, or we're coming in ourselves. You warm and comfy while we freeze. Cut the talk, just break in. Right? Why should we pay a fortune just to survive? Let's just storm in." Lily stopped trying the locks, scared by their reaction. Watching from nearby, I found the whole thing almost funny. Did she really believe people would just pay up, follow her orders, and back her up against us? In times like these, survival comes first, not listening to some scared little opportunist. She feared the banging would wake us up and tried calming things. "Calm down, those who paid can come in. Why are you banging? You didn't pay, right?" No smashing the door, but who would listen to her? Among them, a few men had brought axes and saws. Scared, she screamed and tried hiding, but then saw my angry parents and me watching her coldly. Dad was furious. "You know we barely have enough food left. How could you do this? Just like your parents, a traitor." That was harsh but not untrue. Lily's parents had scammed everyone, vanished with debts, only to tragically die soon after. We'd lost everything too, yet still took Lily in. Nobody mentioned it not to hurt her, but she acted like we owed her. Suddenly she glared, full of hatred. You took our house and money, now you disrespect my parents? You'll pay for this. Hearing that, Dad's last ounce of patience snapped. Fine. You think that way, then get out, he shouted. But with the world outside, Lily wasn't going anywhere. She locked herself into her room, letting the problem fall on us. Mom was terrified. We couldn't risk them breaking in. Our door, thankfully, was made of reinforced materials. A regular axe and saw were useless. But still, I didn't want to be paranoid all the time, expecting trouble. Looking out at the men with axes, I felt an instinctual fear. Lily once opened our door and used me as a pawn. They had a reputation I didn't want to mess with. This time, no way they're stepping inside. Don't bother, I called out. The door isn't easy to break. We planned to share food anyway. My cousin was supposed to help. Idiotically charged you herself. Go home. I'll have her deliver it once it's sorted. They stood there, in disbelief, desperate, distrustful. They'd only believed the truth of entering, never leaving. Two guys yelled, "You're right. Took our money, now lying. Bring it on. Break in and we'll deal with both of you." I stayed firm. Why yelling about? Couple of schemers, when do you earn 100K? Didn't pay yet shouting, she's the one who took it. My cousin, recall? Food'll be sent to you. Keep at the door all you like. Things got hectic outside for a while, but it was too cold. They couldn't take it, and ended up retreating while cursing. Once they left, Lily came out of the room, pointed at me, and started yelling, "Jennifer, what's your problem? You want to give them food and make me deliver it too? You just want to make things difficult for me and get me killed, don't you?" My parents looked at her coldly, and didn't say a word to help. I replied coolly, "Weren't you the one taking the money? Didn't you decide to sell the family's food? If you don't deliver it, who's going to? If you don't handle this properly, see if the neighbors won't break in and beat you up. It's all because of you that we have to hand over food for safety. We don't have much left, and who knows how long it'll last. Once we split it up, you should leave too." Lily wasn't happy at first, but then something clicked in her mind, and she agreed. Fine, I'll deliver it, whatever. She was definitely plotting something. I gave my parents a reassuring look, and went inside to bring out all the food from the fridge, and the holiday supplies. Even the sunflower seeds were divided into portions. Lily was overseeing like she was supervising a raid, worried we'd hide food. But she didn't even glance at the dusty basement entrance, filled with junk she had thrown away. She could never guess that it was full of food. After dividing the food, I kept enough for 3 people, and handed the rest to Lily. "Go deliver it, that's all there is." She quickly grabbed it, wrapped up warmly, and headed out. My parents looked doubtful. Can she really be trusted to deliver it honestly? Normally, she acts like every task is a huge burden. We've given away our food. What happens when it's gone? I sighed intentionally as I opened the door. What choice do we have? If we don't give it, after all her drama, they won't leave us alone. Think of it as avoiding disaster. Lily didn't say a word during our complaints, which was unusual for her fiery temper. The moment the door was opened, she gave us a nasty and smug smile. 2 shadowy figures lurking outside made their move to rush inside. I calmly smiled, and pressed a button on the remote in my hand. The door electrified instantly, and Lily and the 2 men dropped to the ground, knocked out cold. I had known it wouldn't be that simple. Lily seriously thought she was the only one with brains. My parents were terrified, quickly helping me throw them out. After closing the door again, they regretted. We should have never adopted that brat. She actually teamed up with outsiders to harm us. If not for Jennifer being on the ball, we would have all fallen victim to her. I took a deep breath, reassuring my parents, the ungrateful wolf is out. Now we can sleep peacefully. Being kicked out marked the start of Lily's nightmare. Those 2 guys had known Lily since middle school. They used to go out smoking, drinking, and fighting together, sleeping in one hotel room with a group of guys. Though they lost touch afterward, they accidentally ended up living in the same complex. She had deliberately let them in then, and today, she conspired with them to seize our food and take over the house. She thought those thugs would protect her, foolishly thinking anyone cares about feelings now. I doubted the 2 men would let her live through the cold spell without enough food. While the three of them were freezing outside, my parents and I enjoyed hot pot in our room, sweating from the warmth. They cursed us out from outside, but didn't dare to break down the door. I posted a video of Lily leaving with the food in the community group chat, letting everyone know she took it all. As for the electricity, I told them we only had solar panels, which Lily also took. To make it believable, we turned off the lights, so even if they didn't believe they'd have to. The group chat exploded, and when they couldn't find the food, they started searching everywhere for Lily. I also made sure to mention Lily conspired with the two men for robbery. I deliberately speculated in the chat. Did they take the food and run? We only had so little, and it's all gone now. The chance to grab food was gone, and there was no way they'd just let it go. Desperation for food made everyone grab knives and tools to go after Lily and the two guys. I set down my phone and happily dipped some tripe in the hot pot. My parents were still in shock. They couldn't believe when the abandoned basement got filled with food. I passed them some beef I stocked up in advance. No worries, we'll get through the 3-month cold spell with the food we have. My parents didn't question how I knew the cold spell's duration, or how I managed to prepare. Their eyes filled with guilt as they ate the beef. They felt they'd failed as parents, needing my protection instead. Thinking of all the times they made me endure Lily's nonsense, their regret was overwhelming. But I knew they loved me a lot. Sometimes a gentle heart isn't always good, especially during a cold spell when being kind means nothing. Some folks in the chat had already gone silent. Not sure if they're dead or their phones died. From the ones still around, I learned they didn't manage to snag the food Lily took. Those two ruthless guys killed several people, and the scared ones didn't dare go after them again. Now the whole building was eerily quiet, the chat filled with cries for help, medicine and food. My parents sighed as they looked at their phones. John's grandson is only 5. With a high fever and no medicine, he's unlikely to make it. Maybe we should. I casually glanced at them. Remember, once you leave this door, coming back will be tough. My parents quickly shut their mouths. I warned them again. You can play with your phones, but don't speak in the chat. If you can't stand it, don't look. Saints are the first to die in doomsday. You can't play the hero here. None of these people deserve my food. Relationships can turn into enmity during a 3-month cold spell. When my parents starved to death, no one offered them soup. I was tormented for so long. Everyone in the building heard my cries, but no one helped. My body was even eaten, and I was barely alive. Some even begged for a piece of my flesh for soup. If this door opens today, it'll only be inviting wolves in. I won't take that risk. 5 My parents get it too. They just turned off their phones, ignoring all those pity stories in the group chat. I don't really care. Every day, I'm on my phone, enjoying some good food, and checking out the updates from the survivors. One day it's steak, the next it's seafood, and when I get bored, it's hot pot time. Surprisingly, Lily's still alive. Makes sense, since she took so much food with her. Those two guys have gotten a few of the other burly guys in the building on their side, acting like kings now. They go door to door, searching for food and meds. And if you say the wrong thing, they pull a knife on you. But a month passed, and they've run through all the food they got. They're a bunch of guys, so they eat a lot. They're not gonna eat those stiff bodies if they think they can find food elsewhere. Our place has always been on their radar. They've tried sneaking over multiple times, unsure if we're alive. Now with no food left, they're camping at the door, trying to force their way in. You're telling me you don't know the code to your own house? I heard Lily cry outside. I swear I don't. Jennifer changed the lock. Don't hit me. If she's alive, she's definitely hiding food. We'll find it if we get inside. The loud ruckus outside was annoying, so I gave them a little shock therapy. Lily screamed, "See? I told you she's alive and hiding food." I instantly posted a pic of my hot pot in the group. You guessed right, I've got tons of food stashed. Too bad, you can't taste any of it. Shouldn't have left with that blondie. Those guys had a phone with battery left, and after seeing my messages, they beat up Lily a bit more. You serious? Your family's got all this food and you gave us scraps? If you don't open this door, I'll use you as hot pot tonight. Hearing Lily cry was actually kind of satisfying. No way was I letting her off easy. I kept posting food pics in the group chat. This is all the stuff we've been eating. I've even put on weight. Those pics must be torture for Lily. Before long, she's at the door, knocking and crying harder than she did when her parents died. Uncle, aunt, cousin, I'm sorry, they're gonna kill me. Please let me come home. I won't misbehave anymore, won't run away again. Please open the door. My parents just hid in their room to stay out of it. I went to the door, smirked at the bunch of shadows on the camera. Some things never change. I pretended to soften, cousin. If you're really sorry, maybe we'll let you in. But you won't help outsiders hurt us again, right? She glanced toward the shadows, terrified, and nodded frantically with a bruised face. No, I'm sorry, please let me in. I believe she truly wanted to come back and really regretted it. But in this situation, she'd totally sell us out. I tossed a raw piece of meat through the small window with a lock. I still don't trust you. This is all you get. Lily must have been starving, went to bite it right away. The others couldn't resist when they saw food, and rushed to snatch it from her. Watching them fight over raw meat was gross. I said through the door, Lily, you're still lying. I'm not falling for it again. She didn't even get a bite, looking desperate and more twisted. She started pounding and yelling. Jennifer, you won't help me, you'll pay for this. You'll all get what's coming for you. My parents will haunt you. I chuckled, not sure about them, but you'll see them again soon. She saw the men fighting over the meat, scared to tears. She knew all too well what they'd do once they ran out of food and couldn't break in. Guess they've already tasted human flesh. Otherwise, Lily wouldn't be so scared of ending up in their hot pot. I tossed a little chicken out and teased, the cold's got a long way to go. Once food's gone, you'll starve. Fresh food is best. You can raise it and eat it slowly. Talking about more than just the chicken, of course. Just like how Lily didn't see me as human back then. They weren't giving up on breaking down the door. They tried for days, only giving up after getting zapped each time. They took their frustration out on Lily after every failed attempt. Keeping her alive was just a trick to get us to open the door. But once they saw she was useless, they turned on her. Scared like a pig at slaughter, she screamed and struggled. I helped you steal food before. You can't do this to me. Let me go. I'll try the door again, please. 2 months after the cold wave. The building's eerily quiet. Lily's screams slipped through now and then, deliberately loud enough for us to hear. They hoped we'd open the door and let them in out of sympathy. That's when I realized those were the same screams I made, with Lily watching and denying me any mercy. A week later, she couldn't scream anymore. They dragged her out bloody and battered, showing me through the small window, hoping I'd soften and open up. Her body was a mess of wounds, worse than I'd ever been, and she wouldn't last long. Lily looked at me in despair, begging. Kill me, please, just end it, I sighed, pretending to be sympathetic, and tossed out a box of antibiotics and bandages. 6, my body is a gift from my parents. How can you give up on yourself like that? Cousin, hang in there. I'm doing this for your own good. Just get through the cold wave, and you'll survive. Lily looked all resentful and turned on me. Jennifer, UBCH, I hate you, I want to kill you. Wasn't I doing it for her own good? Why did she get mad? I was just repeating what she said to me before, so why get upset? I even gave her 2 boxes of medicine, TCH. Well, I guess it just wasn't her luck to survive the cold wave, unlike me. She croaked in half a month, and I even wasted 2 boxes of meds. There was still half a month left, and honestly, those thugs could have lasted until the cold wave ended with Lily's help. But they didn't know better, so they started a crazy spree among themselves for more food. Gotta say, those 2 thugs were really vicious, making it to the end. Every day they'd prowl outside my door like zombies, and when they got too cold they'd huddle back. Too bad they never managed to get inside my door before the cold wave ended. Communication slowly came back, and rescue efforts got underway. When we got rescued, those 2 thugs cried out loud. They acted all victim-like, looking so innocent. The rescue crew was quite surprised to find my family alive and well. I told them we just accidentally stocked up on extra New Year's supplies, that's all. That's how we survived. As for reinforcing our doors and windows, that's not illegal, and it's not against the law not to open the door when thugs come knocking. And about Lily, she hoarded the food I set aside for our neighbors and ran off, trying to team up with others against her own family. I felt sorry for her fate. I provided a clip from the security cam to them. It caught those 2 thugs committing crimes just outside. They thought they could escape nature's wrath and settle back into normal life with donations. But why should they? They ought to carry the weight of those haunting memories, awaiting the hammer of justice. Sadly, justice never came, and they ended up spiraling into a breakdown and killing themselves. Word has it they chewed off their own flesh and died from blood loss. The TV played stories on some rich kid-turned-philanthropist making huge donations, alongside honoring good deeds during the cold snap, all so peaceful. Just that this time, Lily wasn't next to the rich kid anymore, replaced by another wealthy young lady, who donated lots too. Gotta say, the view looked much nicer,